Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning to whenever you're listening to us. My name's James.
And my name's Ben.
And we are the Imaginary Friends. Thank you very much for joining us. Ben, what was on your agenda today?
Well, so our main agenda is going to be talking about what happens when things go wrong. But, unfortunately, last episode we ran out of time. And I didn't realise that there was something that you wanted to talk to our listeners about.
Oh, really?
And so I understand that there's been some updates with the MWS.
There has been.
And I can only apologise, James. I didn't realise you wanted to bring anything off lightly. So, as promised, unfortunately, we don't have a pause or a stop or a rewind function on this laptop. So I wasn't able to fix it last week, or didn't want to. So, as promised, we have a beautiful, fresh opportunity for you to bring anything that's on your chest at the beginning of the episode when they're not even bored.
Excellent. So, yes, MWS...
And we're done.
You're so funny. You're so funny, Ben. First doing it once, fair enough. Twice.
Yeah, whatever, go on.
MWS going through some changes at the minute, and in terms of personnel on the committee, we've got different people now trying to run things, and somehow I have ended up on the committee.
That's surprising.
I know, you're telling me.
How many applicants were there?
I'm guessing one.
Yeah. But there are a couple of new faces.
There are. So, yeah, we've got 4 new faces.
So now that you're inside the sausage factory,
in the inner circle.
You know how the sausages are made.
And I firstly will start by thanking profusely the previous people and the previous committee of the MWS. It's a lot of bloody work.
Yeah, that's why no one applied.
More for me. Really interesting. So I put together the player pack for the upcoming event.
Is that not just copying and pasting the last one?
Yes and no. Because obviously the last one, the issue we had was the bands event, and this time we're just going for a standard event, so you play anything you want.
So if we just sort of structure this a little bit, so obviously there were some morale issues with the MWS.
Yep.
I think that's I don't want to criticise anybody.
No.
We saw a falling membership.
Yep.
We saw people that with their friends weren't joining, they didn't want to join.
Yep.
And we saw perhaps a little bit of staleness in the meta.
Yep.
Which obviously the bands event we've talked about at length. Obviously we can thank the people who put a lot of time into the old season.
Absolutely.
Do you have a bit more information so we don't want to out anybody or be criticising anybody, but is there a reason for the morale?
I think it's just some people have been doing it a very, very long time.
And we saw a lot of times where you had the organisers not playing in their own event.
Yeah, where they have perhaps not enjoyed some of the Fortnite themselves as much as others for whatever reasons that may be, whether they've just got other... Some of it I know was just they've got other stuff going on in their lives. Unfortunately, they are human and can't do everything. But they continue to obviously run the events, but there was perhaps less passion behind it.
And how are you managing to go to your kids' ballet performances as well as being a head honcho of the MWS?
Well, I have arranged for my wife and kids to dutifully go on holiday without me a number of times, in fact. So, freeing up a bit of time, so it should be great.
Good. Are there any holidays for the wife and kids coming up?
2, in fact.
2?
Yes. Next week.
Oh, what will you be doing?
Sitting around in my pants, drinking and chilling out.
Oh, good. Fortunately, there won't be any football for you to watch.
It's a bit disappointing. I mean, they could have gone last week. I would have had a fantastic time.
Oh, I don't know if you would.
Well, given the results. God bless England.
So...
But yeah, so biggest thing there is the event itself closes Monday the 20th of July, 7 a.m. UK time.
Okay, they didn't want to sign up before. You telling them when the deadline is good.
Well, they need to know when the deadline is so they can make sure they sign up before, because obviously they're going to sign up because it's amazing.
Alright, so what's changed?
At the minute, not a huge amount.
Okay, but what ideas do you have?
So we're looking into loads of things, and we want to get more opinions from other people. We want to know why people want to play it or why people don't want to play it. So we're going to reach out to people who perhaps aren't playing when they have in the past. Just looking for honest brutally honest opinions.
What if they just don't want to play you?
Then I will not play and other people can play instead of me.
Oh, that's very committed of you.
But everybody loves to play me, so I'm sure that won't be a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, so just really want to.
We have seen a few names come back.
Yeah, a few names come back. There's a few new names as well. There's been a couple of people who have registered new to Longshanks. There's been a couple of people who are new to online play that have been playing in person, not online.
But that's because of our podcast.
Obviously. So, just trying to do the best we can to try and grow the community. It's a phenomenal community, and I don't think I've really ever played a game online against anyone in the MWS. And it's been an awful experience. Even the games where I've had my head kicked in.
No, I've not had any. I do think, actually, we can touch on this as part of the episode. Losing gracefully is a skill.
Yes,
and
I'm learning it.
You remember many years ago in the War Machine days, you caused someone to break a glass in the background.
I did. That was an online game, and they lost the game, and there was a significant smash as a glass was thrown across the room.
I do think people's losing gracefully in person tends to be better than online.
I disagree for myself. Especially if I'm playing against you.
Well, whilst that's true.
Apologies to anyone in that event up north. You know who you are.
But our domestics are neither here nor there. I think there's because you play multiple games in a day.
Yeah.
And if you're playing a 6-round event and you lose the game, you can be bitter during the game. That's fairly normal.
Yeah.
And yeah, so something I'd like to talk about is definitely that feeling. But normally after the game, you go, thank you very much, shake the hand. Something I was being petty about in Poland was people who, because obviously generally the winner puts the result in Longshanks.
Yeah. And
then the winner was sort of trying to gracefully make sure I was happy that the schemes had been put in properly in Longshanks.
And at that point in time, you don't care.
I was like, I don't care. Like, you can put 11-1-0, I really don't care.
No, I feel bad, I've lost.
I know the result.
Yes.
And, me knowing whether, I scored breakthrough or search the area.
You don't care.
I don't care.
No.
So,
no, that's fair.
But no, so I think in person you have to kind of brush yourself off and you're like, well, I'm playing another game.
Yeah.
So, and I think online you've got that week of hype. You've probably thought about it a bit more, and that's definitely something we need to talk about with the MWS actually, in terms of some people dislike it because they feel the game isn't what it should be because the game is a bit more improv. While online you've got time to practice the deployments and so on. So I think you're perhaps a bit more invested in it.
Yeah, it's fair.
But yeah, so we will certainly talk about losing and trying not to lose, but also losing. And the European League, you had your first game of European League.
European League was great fun. Played another Brit, in fact, Dan F. Great guy.
It's good to have him back.
Yes. I haven't seen him on the online circuit for a while.
Hopefully he's listening to our podcast.
I'm sure he will be. He was on our YouTube channel, of course, because the game was recorded and posted on there.
So it was Wong versus Molly.
Yes, Wong Enchanter, so with the Flying Piglet, versus Molly Chaotic Conductor.
So we can summarise it by, it was a really bad turn one. Piglets did crazy piglet things, but you were able to pull it back.
Yeah, so I went. So really, if we were playing in person, I'd owe him a widget because
he trashed you.
Not only did I go down on scenario a little bit, it was 3-0 him end of turn one.
And of course, we are very good as teammates because we do occasionally pop in to watch each other's games, but we certainly don't conspire.
No,
mainly because we don't respect each other's opinions.
Yes.
But no, so I have to say, I'm not saying I would like to cheat, but I often find it very difficult to follow a game that I'm not playing.
Yeah, the thought process, why is that? Why have you put that model there in the first place? Because you're planning to do this thing in 2 turns but I don't know that's what you're planning. So actually, it looks stupid that you put there, but then 2 turns later, you go, oh, he's there. He's in the right place. That's lucky.
So I was talking to Ollie, and he was saying how he'd had games where apparently he referenced the TV series of Queen's Gambit.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you've seen it.
I have.
So
Loved it.
there's a bit where she walks into a room and there's a room full of grandmasters all trying to play the game against her. And Ollie said that he'd certainly had games where like all 9 of the person's teammates had joined the group thing, and it just felt like you're playing against a committee of all really good players.
Yeah.
So we generally stop in to see how we're doing, but we don't, confer.
Never. Never. That is against the rules of the MWS and the European. Don't do it, please.
All we get is it's going horribly wrong.
Yes.
So the second game I played was against Harlequin, who's of course the organizer, your new bestie.
Yes.
And I played Colette Smuggler.
Amazing.
So I really like Smuggler. I don't like Showgirls. Not Showgirls, I like Showgirls. I don't like Star of the Show.
You do.
And I really enjoyed her. She was really, really cool. And I had this beautiful moment where we had barbed wire in the middle of the board, and the rogue necromancer had been injured because he charged through it, and he had no hand, and Colette Smuggler does double damage.
1 damage min, but
raises on 3, and double damage, and he had no hand, and I waited to the end of the turn. And I can't cheat because it's the rogue necromancy.
Yeah.
But when your card's +2, you kind of fancy your chances, and I only need 1 big hit to really.
Yeah.
And Colette 1 round of the rogue necromancy.
Nice.
Glorious. But I think Harlequin was quite new to play mid-morning.
Yes. I've spoken to him about it, actually.
I think, so I certainly look forward to seeing, we've talked about mid-morning today.
We have.
And we think mid-morning is really interesting, but I think certainly needs a lot of practice.
Yeah. He has weird tools. He's not the weirdest Rezzers master. I think I give that to Yan Lo.
No, Yan Lo is the only Rezzers that feels like he could be in another crew.
He could be in Bio.
No, I don't. I think. Well, he used to be in Thunders.
He
feels like a Thunders crew because all his models are actually quite efficient, and he doesn't have the Def 3 that Rezzers are known for.
He doesn't.
He actually feels like he has good models.
But they're weird. They are hampered a bit.
But he's the only one that doesn't necessarily want Azura.
Yeah.
Which is because he's not a Rezzers team. He probably should have stayed in Thunders where he belonged.
Possibly, yeah.
But yeah, so you were considering playing him in our casual game today?
I was. Still am, I still haven't decided.
So, so I was able to things went my way in that game. So I'm 1-1 in the group stage.
Excellent.
I'm hopeful that I can make it through.
Yes. 2-1 is normally going to be enough to make it through, because that means 2 pick generally. If there's somebody else,
you can have 3 people go 2-1.
You can,
and then margin of victory.
It becomes the thing.
But more to the point, and perhaps the more interesting thing is, I went in thinking I was going to play lots of Keris.
Yep.
And I don't think I'm going to play Keris again. I think, but I really enjoyed Smuggler.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play Raspy, and I think she's really interesting.
Nice.
I don't really want to play Tony. I think Tony's very good.
Yeah.
I just don't really want to play her.
We've spoken about this, that we know Tony's good. Tony's kicked.
I've lost to Tony lots.
Yeah, but
I just don't want to play her.
Yeah, and I don't know why.
No.
I don't know why I don't want to play her, but
and we play a lot of everything.
Everything, yes.
You're looking at very excitingly sorting out some storage trays for our collection.
I am, and it's
how many keywords have we got?
So many, Ben. Oh, it's easier to go through the keywords we don't have than the keywords we do have, which is somewhat depressing when there's a lot.
What keyword do you want to have that we don't?
Oh, what a great question.
You've been given a budget to spend on.
So, for me, it's possibly Sandeep.
Okay.
I think it's cool. Euripides is one that we've both looked at. We've proxied before playing friendlies. I
really want to do a homemade Euripides Frost Giant Dungeons & Dragons Etsy crew.
Yep. I can't remember who I was talking to. I mentioned that today, actually, to somebody. Yes, I think for me it would probably need to be Sandeep. I've played him once, proxied him, and I really enjoyed that. And I thought there's some cool things he can do.
So I'm an adult and I have a job, so
Yeah.
I own all the toys that I want.
Yeah, I mean, how many factories? I've recently bought a number of new keywords.
Well, you bought all of the Rezzers at the end of 3rd edition.
I was just end of 3rd edition. I was just about to start Rezzers because I thought Rezzers were really good in 3rd ed and that. And then
And to be fair, they were.
They were, and then all of a sudden 4th ed come, and I haven't really. There's many that I haven't used. I mean, I'm looking in front of me because I was doing Outcasts as well. I bought Zip, and I have Zip in the box unopened in front of me here.
And what crew do you have that you own, but is not painted how you'd like, and you'd like to be really pretty? And if you could magically wave a paintbrush and it was beautiful, which crew would it be?
I reckon so. It's not painted badly, and I've started.
Oh, okay.
And I put on the table.
This is your Alice.
This is my Alice, yeah, Rusty Alice. I've got the Nightmare Alice, and I think it's really cool. And I've got some bases. In fact, I'm sitting looking at my Alice, and she is spray painted white on a rather cool base. So I probably should at some point get round to actually painting her and the rest of the crew. My painting skills are not the greatest in the world, and I want to do her justice, and I'm a bit rusty.
That's nonsense. Your painting's perfectly good, you're just lazy.
Yeah, fair. I can't dispute that.
But I was in a Polish hotel room painting badly the night before the event because they have much higher standards than we do.
Yeah.
Hey,
Nationals, UK Nationals last year, I painted the entire Bayou keyword.
I think it's safe to say that Contrast paints painted
The entire Bayou
keyword.
the entire of my Bayou are not painted brilliantly.
But they probably could be touched up if you decided you wanted to play.
Plausibly. But to all those amazing painters out there, I am incredibly jealous of your skill, dedication, and hard work.
And most of all, good work ethic.
And good work.
But you are now a committee member.
Yes. Which just means I'll have even more excuse not to paint my stuff. Quite. I was thinking I probably should avoid swearing if we're going to try and attract younger users as well.
Quite. Well, I've managed to been very lucky that my partner has painted some of my toys.
Yes, I saw this.
Don't get a lot of say in how they're painted.
No, do you not have a rather Gyarados?
Quite, yeah, no. So my Shadow Fate Emissary looks like Gyarados. And a very nice Gyarados he is too.
Which is awesome.
I've just got from the raffle, I got the Tortoise Yanlo model.
Tortoise and the Hare.
Which is a shame because continue the theme. Because obviously the Tortoise could be Blastoise.
Yes.
And if Yanlo was still 10 Thunders...
Oh, you could have had both in the same crew.
I could have had both in the same crew.
Do you reckon we can then 3D print a Pokemon-based team?
Well, I was looking at Asami.
Yeah, a summoner would be cool. I was just thinking Sandeep there, because you want a summoner to summon...
Well, I've got Gyarados now.
Yeah.
So I was thinking for Nationals, I might have to, especially if it means that my Asami crew gets painted by Emma.
Well, hey.
Then I could, maybe.
Like it.
But on a less happy note, let's talk about how much we suck.
Speak for yourself.
So, losing. So there's a couple of things here to break down. So, the first thing is just about the psychology of it, because we're all competitive players. Anyone listening to our podcast is a competitive player or wants to be a competitive player, and you finish that game, you've lost, you deserve to win. You're looking through your app thinking, if I'd taken the 7-point out of keyword model, I'd have won.
We spoke about that. Got to be
first episode.
This is the very first episode.
Yeah, it's one of my first rants. And your opponent smirking, obviously, and they turn to you and they go, "Are you happy when we've got the schemes right in the app?" And you're like, "I don't care." How do you deal with these feelings, James?
I normally try and stay very smiling, happy to their faces, and congratulate them, and then go cry in the corner, or possibly depending on the time. If it's late in the evening, the family's gone to bed, I'll go cry in the shower. Sob myself to sleep.
Yeah, it's not constructive, though, James. Is it?
Right.
And we're constructive. So
constructive. So sorry, you want to construct?
So it's let's say it's a 2-day event.
Yep.
You won all 3 games round 1.
Nice.
So you're invested.
Yep.
And then you lose the first round of day 2. I would say it's a 6-round event. You've got 3 more games today.
Yeah.
And so you're no longer winning the event.
No.
But you've got 2 more games to play.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
So certainly in an in-person event, you really have to dust yourself off quickly.
And there's not a lot of players in the UK community. Well, there certainly are, but there's
Quite a lot.
we know them all. And so if you're horrible, it's going to be remembered.
Yes. Yeah.
I think there's a fair amount of tolerance for people having a tantrum after they lose. And I think there's probably something about, people accept that when you lose, you're going to be a little bit upset.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you've gone 3-0 that first day and you're on those top tables, you are playing for the event. And if you do lose, then, I mean, all of the players who are going to be up there are all going to be passionate about it. And I don't think being passionate is a bad thing. And I as I say, I've certainly...
Well, nobody gets to be good unless they're invested.
Yeah, and I've certainly been very passionate about losses that I'm annoyed about. And perhaps have been over the top once or twice, which I'll apologise to anyone that has witnessed that. But it is that case of how do you deal with that yourself? And for me, it's always been interesting, whether it's been in sports that I've been competitive in, played high-level sports at times, certainly when I was younger and less fat.
Marbles, wasn't it, James?
Badminton, thank you. But it's... Whenever I lost a point or whenever things weren't going well, I would always be very vocal about it. And that was my way of kind of just getting it out the way with, and then I could think more constructively. So for me, I would make sure you have a way of actually dealing with that annoyance. Now, perhaps you need to go home and scream into a pillow, or you need to go to your car and scream into a pillow, or just take 5 minutes and just be upset about it, but be able to then move on and then constructively analyse what did you do wrong? Because realistically, you lost that game because you did something wrong.
Yeah. And if we had another widget, it would say, I lost because I deserved to lose.
Yes.
And that's something we try and be quite honest with ourselves about.
Yeah.
And I think it helps because I think there's always that feeling of unfairness. There's always that feeling of I deserve to win that game.
Yep.
And that's the enemy.
And
that entitlement is the problem.
Yeah, we've had it before. I lost because I flipped the black joker on a really key flip. But actually, I lost because I forgot a key demise on turn 2. I lost because in the same game I forgot this ability in turn 1.
Yeah.
So loads of reasons.
So unless you've played the perfect game,
and then your opponent's played the perfect game, and it comes down to one key flip.
Well, no, because I don't think you can bring your opponent into it, because if you've played perfectly and they've not, and I think sometimes that's the annoyance, when your opponent's made mistakes and you think you played a really good game, you have that feeling of, well, they don't deserve to win. They only won because they were playing X crew, blah, 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 blah. And I think that entitlement of that belief that you deserve to win is... Maybe I'm the only person in the world that has that feeling. And I've just outed myself as a horrible person. But I think that's the feeling that you have to get away from. And I think for us being able to try and take a step back and go, you know what, James, you deserve to lose that game.
Yeah.
And we've certainly had games where you're like, I flipped the black joker. This is the only time we have a rule. We don't normally allow ourselves to rant about the black joker on the podcast.
We try not to.
But so every time I've lost, obviously it was because of the black joker. Yeah. I'm just not allowed to say so on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And often we'll be watching the last turn or something, or Jonas will be saying, and it's like, I flipped the black joker for this, and then I'll go like, well, why did you flip for it? Why didn't you just walk and do this?
Yeah.
And he goes, I didn't have to do that play. So there will always be something you can learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think sometimes it's helpful to try and just be a little bit simple. if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Great life advice.
You don't necessarily need to have a whole discussion about it. And you could often just go, thank you very much for the game, wish you the very best in the next game. I'll see you around.
Yeah.
And then leave the table. And it doesn't normally take long, does it? It normally takes that 30 seconds of ranting about the Black Joker to your friend.
Yep.
And then you begin to feel a bit better.
Absolutely. And that's very much what I do and will need. And once you've ranted and stuff, you can then get over yourself and go, no, I deserve to lose.
And I think, we're very successful players in terms of events.
We are.
But we still, going into a major event, you might give yourself a 20-25% chance of winning it, and you might think, if it's my day, I'm good enough to take it.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly not going into it thinking, I'm definitely got this.
There is never a gimme in Malifaux, and that's one of the reasons I love it so much. And we've seen it where you've had very established, very good players who have lost games to newer players, unknown players. And I think it's phenomenal that actually there's such variety in the game that anyone can win any game.
Yes, especially if you bring an 8-wide list on Boundary Corner.
I mean, again, you deserve to lose.
I did deserve to lose. So then takes us on to the sort of the second half of it, which is you've not lost yet.
Excellent. Good. I like this.
But you're losing.
Oh dear. Yeah. Familiar with that one?
So, and we've talked a lot about the sunk cost fallacy. We've talked about that overinvestment, that not averting when you really should be. So let's talk about TNs. Let's talk about flips. So obviously 3rd edition to 4th edition, a lot less card draw.
Hugely less. Yeah, massively less.
And TNs weren't really a thing in 3rd edition.
Didn't feel like it, no.
Which is odd because not all crews had that much card draw.
No, certainly some had more than others, but...
Yeah, it's not like you're playing against Damien and they got to draw 3 hands. Yeah. That was so stupid. But the TNs didn't seem to matter in anywhere near the same way. But now, we've had, certainly had multiple turns where the last half of the turn you're on top deck mode, and those TN7s,
just
and
never
you
come
can't
off.
plan your turn because you're like, well, I hope this works.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And again, just going to sort of the theme of the episode, there's certainly a snideness where you realise that your opponent needs, they're on top deck mode.
Yeah.
And they flip the 6 of masks. So they get the trigger.
Yeah.
And the TN goes off.
I mean, I'll be honest. One of the things that annoys me when I'm playing, and I don't know. Well, I know why, but I'm flipping a TN6. I flip the 13, or I flip a 1. They flip a TN6. They flip the 6, and it's the fact that they hit the TN perfectly, which in terms of because across the turn, you only got so many.
It's a bit like Squish Squash flipping the black when she doesn't have a TN.
Yeah.
And she still gets the built-in suit.
Yep, she does. So it's flipping the best possible card, which is always the lowest possible card to achieve success. And if you had the perfect turn, it would be every TN6 you flip a 6 for, which means you can't flip 6s on the TN7s.
Yeah.
So it's one thing that always, and I always feel it more when things are not, the flips are not going well for me. I've got a TN4, I flip a 3. I've got a TN5, I flip a 2.
You have a TN5 and you flip the 13 or the red.
Yeah, and and then they flip their TN6.
It's something you notice more than I do, and I tell you off for it. You do this thing where there's only one good play. We both know what the good play is, and the good play will sort of work, but it will only really work if you flip a mask. And you sit there and you count how many masks you've flipped.
I do,
and we're like, James, it's the only play you've got. It's the only thing you can do.
But if I've got more masks than any other suit in the deck, I'll feel better about doing it.
So I, the other day, at an event, actually counted my cards. You'll be proud or ashamed of me.
I am proud. Because you normally hate this.
Well, I only had 2 cards left in the deck.
Okay.
So at that point, I was like, I can work out what these two cards
are.
And it was an in-person event. It probably wouldn't have gone wrong for me, spoilers, if I'd done it in 'cause digitally you can look at it and it's
really easy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you just click on the deck and you
Piece
look
of
at
cake.
yeah. So I was sitting there, and I think I was just being untidy. And I think the 2 cards that I thought it was had just fallen aside. Not that I was playing with a 51 card deck or whatever, but I think because I use energy cards as my tokens, and one of the tokens had been shuffled in or whatever, and before the end of the turn I cleaned up or whatever. So I quickly counted, and I was counting how many masks. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I thought I'd worked out what the last card of the deck was. So I smugly flipped it.
Very wrong.
And I was like, 3.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, oh, that's not the card I thought it was.
No.
So that'll teach me for breaking my own rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, unless you've got 2 cards left in the deck, when you've got 12 cards left, and it's certainly, I think, worth knowing if you're black or you're red has flipped come up.
Yes, that's a useful one.
But again, even then, because you make that choice of do I go for the aggressive play or do I do a play that doesn't matter, and you're like, I've still got the black and the red left, and I go for the play that doesn't matter and I flip the red, or I go for the kill and I flip the black, it never pays off.
No, you're right.
Just do the thing that was the best thing to do at
Just
the turn.
Yeah, that's fair. But what if I've got 2 cards left and one of them's the red and one of them's the black? And one play, if I go for the attack, the red kills and the black doesn't. Or I could walk.
Play Syzygy Sisters.
Fair.
I don't think that's ever happened.
Probably not.
Though what has happened was flipping the red and the black together.
Oh, I hate that so much.
And then I ran out of cards in my deck. And then I shuffled my deck quickly back in.
So you have shuffled it really well.
I shuffled it really well.
So the red and black are still next to each other.
And then I flipped the red on a 3-card flip. And I know what the next card is. It was the worst feeling ever.
Oh, man.
I think I threw the deck across the room. I think that was the time I threw the deck across the room in a graceful, dignified manner.
Of course.
Because we don't have overly competitive Friday night games.
No, never.
And it's just that feeling of, oh no.
It's really funny.
I think you probably realised at the same time. I was like, oh,
Yeah, you haven't shuffled that well, have you?
no. Anyway, so it's going wrong for you.
Yep.
And turn 1, you've drawn your opening hand.
Excellent.
And actually, it's interesting talking about opening hands because you can have a hand that has a 13 and a 12, but then no 6 or 7s.
Oh, I hate it so much.
And you sit there and you've got this handful of weaks.
Yep.
And then you've got 4 severes.
Yep.
And it's turn 1.
Yep.
And you've got 90 and 6s to hit.
Yep.
And you're like, do I cheat an 11 in? Do I cheat? And the answer to the listeners is, if you need to cheat in a severe, or 11 or 12 or 13, for your TN that needs to go off, you cheat that 13 in and you feel bad about it, but don't make bad plays.
So, interestingly, with my Molly game, it was almost the opposite. So, one of the key things with Molly Character Conductor is she discards a card to move 4 inches, and her entire crew can do this. Now, with Azura, you put the corpses down, and when you finish your 4-inch move, if you're within range of a corpse marker, you pick up the corpse marker and draw a card. So you're effectively cycling a card.
So Azura's even better than normal.
Yes, in that keyword. It's great. The issue comes is once you've done this a few times and you get really lucky, and then I've got 4 cards left in my hand, and it is an 11, 11, 12, and 12. And then I flip a TN4 and I miss it, and then have to cheat. Or I then have to go, well, I really want to move those 4 inches, so I'm going to have to discard this 11 to draw another card, knowing that it's probably going to be worse than an 11. But a lot of the time, doing that thing is better than having a card in hand doing nothing.
Yeah, because the cards give you reliability.
That's the point.
And
of
you
having
can't
cards.
compromise your reliability of whatever it is you're trying to do because you really like that you have a...
I want to keep this 11 in hand and do what with it?
So, the controversial first thing to think about is there are no truly bad hands.
Oh.
And
That is controversial.
so I suppose the first thing to think is that the empower mechanic is a really, really good improvement.
It is a phenomenal improvement. Yeah, I completely agree.
And so, okay, let's begin. So there are bad hands. But perhaps the constructive points to get from this is you get that opening hand. The highest card is a 9.
Yep.
But actually, you probably have a good amount of 6s and 7s.
Yeah, it hit your TNs.
Suddenly your TNs and your suits. So the chances of you not having any suits, not having any of the TNs you need, and not having any high cards is very remote.
Yeah.
So every hand will have, and even if you've got a handful of 1, 2s and 3s, there will be suits there that are really valuable for you.
Lets you empower.
You'll certainly have the empowering for Quick Strike, for Rams, or Crows, or whatever it is that you need. There will be something there that's useful. So you draw your opening hand, and you sit there and you go, my highest card is a 7.
Yep.
And you have that feeling of awkward dread.
Yes.
As you realise that you have very little agency over this turn.
Mm-hmm.
And if your opponent comes in and flips in the big boy cards, and there's not a lot you can do about it.
But it's fine, because my deck will be really good, because I've got all the low cards in hand, is obviously the lie you tell yourself.
Every time.
Every time.
And it never.
Not once.
I suddenly had a game where I flipped really badly at the beginning and then I started at the end of the turn. If you start seeing the severes.
Yes, it's one of the things I do like more about the cards than dice, is that
there is that fixed luck.
It is definitely going to average out. It's just, when are you flipping those 13s on your TN6s and are you flipping those 6s on your attacks?
Yes.
That's the unlucky bit.
Which is why it annoys you so much.
Yes, I think so.
And of course, that feeling where your opponent just beats you.
It beats you by 1.
And you have that game where they flip an 11 and you flip a 10, and you flip a 4 and they flip a 5.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
But nonetheless, you should just not play Rezzers and then you've got higher stats.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I think it's really important to take that step back. Don't panic. Don't get annoyed.
Yeah.
You're not owed a handful of severes.
No.
The panic and annoyance can come in when they cheat in their third 13 of the turn.
Yeah.
That's to come.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you need to use that time. Don't sit there thinking, I didn't draw any 13s. You need to sit there and think, what suits do I need to be empowering? Yeah. What TNs do I need to hit?
And you're possibly not going to be as aggressive.
Certainly not. So we are going to change how we're going to play.
Absolutely.
So if you have a play where you can commit a piece to try and one round a enemy model, if you don't have the cards to back it up, then by all means, if you can do it and it's not going to be a huge loss of tempo or the piece wasn't doing anything else.
Yep.
And there's certainly an element of, we talked about last week about the min 2 model going in and flipping a 13 and doing 4 damage with 2 races to an expensive model. And you're like, oh, I don't want to cheat in to stop
That's right.
that Terratot hitting me. But you kind of have to send the model in and not have any real hope or expectation. Because if you've not got the cards to back it up, kind of the best you can hope for is your opponent might have to cheat some high cards to stop you.
Yes.
We talked about cheating a lot last week. And there's that feeling where your opponent goes, I'll cheat this 9 in to make you burn a high card.
I'm not going to bother.
And you're like, oh, I didn't want to hit that min 4 attack anyway.
Yeah.
Empowering. When do you empower, James?
So I'll think about the flip and I'll go, if I fail this, and I can't cheat it because I haven't got any cards to cheat it, but I've got loads of cards to empower with, how bothered am I going to be when this fails?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I empower it, I can be a little bit more annoyed that it failed because obviously I had double the chance.
Mm-hmm. It's the worst feeling when you empower a TN6 and you still fail.
And you still fail. You fit that 2 and a 3. But, you know what, it happens. But yeah, that big thing of, you know what, how much does this matter?
It could even be am I going to be annoyed that this misses?
Yep.
And if it's going to annoy me, and we have another rule we tell ourselves, which is if you have resources you can spend on something and you don't spend them, you cannot moan when it misses.
Yes.
And we had this, it came from War Machine.
It did.
Because in War Machine there's a mechanic where you can expend a resource to get an extra dice.
Yes.
And we had a rule that was if you didn't boost the attack,
Yeah.
you cannot, when you could, obviously, if you couldn't do it. But if you had an attack that was so important and you sit there and you wave your tiny fists and you shout how that lost you the game, then of course the answer is, why didn't you boost the attack, James?
Yeah, if it's that important.
If it's that important and you had resources, why didn't you spend the resources? I suppose empowering is the same.
Empowering.
If that is a flip that needs to go off,
Yep.
and you didn't empower it,
You can't complain about it.
you can't complain about it. It sounds like, James, we never complain.
We always complain.
If only we followed our own rules. But I think it's important that we have these frameworks that we try and rule by,
Yeah.
and then we can rein ourselves back.
We often remind the other person, don't we? Of,
Did you empower that? Oh, if I'd flipped that flip,
or
I
did
would
you
have won the
empower it,
game.
Ben?
Oh, I didn't empower. No. Yeah.
So, and it's quite nice. It's a good way to just remind yourselves.
So if you have a flip that you need to go off,
Yep.
and you don't spend a resource for it to go off, then clearly you didn't need it to go off that much.
Don't be shocked when it fails.
I've had a weird thing. I flipped the red Joker the most when I've lost the game. And I've had this weird, like, I've been losing a game, and then, like, I've randomly red Jokered and one-shot a model. And it's not got me back in the game, but it's made me lose by less.
Fair.
And there's been, like, 30 seconds of me thinking, am I back in the game?
Can I do this?
And it never happens in a game where I'm winning. It's never a game I'm in control. It just always happens as a random. And I don't know if that's just because I'm randomly lashing out and making not particularly good plays and just
Probably.
making random attacks that
Possibly.
sometimes pay off.
Out of spite more than anything.
Out of spite. So, when was the last game you conceded mid-game?
Are we talking about against an opponent? A proper game?
Not against each other.
Not against each other.
A tournament game. When was the last time you didn't play 4 turns?
I can think of once within the last...
That was the Lady J game.
That was the Lady J game where there was no physical way back in it.
So I try and make myself play all 4 turns.
Yeah.
And the Karras game against McCabe, I made myself play all 4. And actually, in hindsight, I'm glad I did, because 11-6 is considerably harder for tiebreakers than 11-0.
Yes.
But I think more importantly than that, it's really important from an experience and a practice.
Yeah.
And opening theory, we've talked a lot about on this podcast.
Yep.
But endgame theory is its own thing.
Yeah, something that if people are interested about, it's something we will certainly talk about in more depth.
Don't worry, we're going to talk about it whether you're interested or not.
That too.
There's only a limited amount of things we can talk about when we have a weekly podcast.
True.
So, and I think just from you do, when you're in that desperation moment, find plays that you wouldn't normally play. And you have that looking at all your cards, thinking, what will move slow?
Yeah.
And there's certainly been some interesting endgame moments that I've experienced because... And I certainly don't like to... And obviously, you have moments where you've mathematically won.
Yep.
And you can kind of just sort of play the rest of the game on autopilot. I don't have that.
No, that's because
I'm coming back from 5-0 down.
Yes.
So I've got some... But there's always stuff you can learn, even if it's just learning how your opponent's crew works.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of games where I've won, but thought, oh, my opponent's crew was really cool. And obviously I won the game against McMorning, but actually I'm really glad I played the game, not only because I won, but because watching McMorning and thinking, you know what, he's really interesting, talking to my opponent afterwards about the game. And thinking, how would I play it differently? And maybe there's that arrogance of, well, I wouldn't have lost. I have this with, who is it? Sonia, who I've never lost to, but have just been terrified the entire game, wondering if my entire crew's going to burn to death. And I've normally been able to pull it back on scenario of all things.
Doesn't sound like you.
No, it's the desperation when the room's on fire of having to go score some schemes or something. But And I have this arrogance of thinking, well, of course, I could play her and I wouldn't lose because I'd play the schemes better, and I undoubtedly wouldn't.
Yeah.
But
you'd have far too much fun burning people to death.
Yeah. But and so certainly there's things you might look at and go, you know what, I can play that differently. But certainly just learning how your opponent's crews work. And again, going into our theme of the episode of being grumpy, there's definitely a feeling of, if you thought the opponent's crew was really overpowered, go play an online game with it.
Yeah.
Because there'll be things that you don't realise that your opponent is having to manage. Some random star points or resources or something that is a stress point of that crew that you don't know. Because when your opponent flips every single TN and flips every TN 8 and every TN 9 and gets the summon on the 13 and they just bring it off gracefully and you're like, what is this nonsense? And then you play it and you don't get anything working and you're like, oh, okay, maybe it was just bad luck or good luck or whatever. And again, if your opponent cheats in that 13s, so I had this again in the same game. My opponent had a really strong top end of the hand and had 2 13s or 2 13s or 12, but then couldn't make any of his TNs for the rest of the turn.
Yep.
And it was the really funny of watching him fail TNs. It was always smug and satisfying when you're against your opponent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what to actually do? So there's certainly an element that you need to change what your objectives are for the turn.
Yes.
So your standard objective, let's say, is score the scheme, score the strat, kill a model.
Yep. Sounds nice.
So you spend a couple of Severes for the kill, a couple of TNs for this, a couple of TNs for that. And let's say, so it happened to you, your last game, one of your scheme runners get killed unactivated.
He did.
So let's pause and go, how does that affect? And the wrong answer here is it doesn't affect how you play the rest of the turn. You play it the same.
Yep.
What is the correct thing to do in this position?
So for me, it was always a case of reanalyze what is going to happen, and when that happened, I knew I wasn't in position to counter kill that model. So it was hopscotch. I went in, jumped a million miles through a pig.
Okay, so in terms of overly focusing on the wrong thing, again, something we've talked about, you didn't fall into the trap of, I need to kill hopscotch.
Nope.
Because you looked at it and went, that's not happening.
Never going to happen. Certainly the crew I had, Molly, she's not massively murdery. Archie's my biggest threat. He can do a maximum of 10 damage.
He's not one-rounding hopscotch.
He's not one-rounding hopscotch.
And your opponent is certainly a good enough positional player that he didn't put him in a bad position.
Nowhere near. So I'd have maybe got one. I could have done 3, maybe 4 damage.
So the worst thing you could do now is to focus the rest of the turn on hopscotch.
Exactly. So I ignored him.
So you ignored him. Good. So, but now, were you going to score the strat with that model dead?
No.
Were you going to score the strat with the model alive?
Possibly draw it at least.
Okay, so your objective for the turn was to compete for the strat.
Correct.
Something I find strange. But so you've now accepted that that model is dead. You are no longer competing with it.
Yeah.
And so there's this fine balance of putting enough resources into the strat so you don't fall too far behind.
Yeah.
And there's a temptation of, well, I can't score the strat this turn, I'm going to drop no bombs. And you need to drop the bombs because the difference between being 4-3 on bombs or 4-0 on bombs, it's suddenly a lot more, especially with Bandry or whatever.
Yeah.
So, did you score the scheme?
Well, you know how we were talking, it can be really awkward if you've used your cards or don't have the cards in hand to do it and you keep failing your TNs. And you have that really important TN 6 that you need to lead for, so you can then drop 2 scheme markers and score your scheme. And then you fail to hit that TN.
Yeah.
So you don't score your schemes.
Did that happen?
Might have done.
Yeah. So what did you do? You presumably threw your toys out of the pram.
Yep.
And how did you deal with that? Because you still won the game.
I did. So I gave up on schemes and strats entirely turn 1, accepted that I was going to lose, and started to prepare myself for turn 2.
Because I found myself, so I looked at the game very briefly and was like, Leave Your Mark was in the pool.
I had Leave Your Mark.
I know you did. You love Leave Your Mark. I knew you had Leave Your Mark, even though you had no models anywhere near the middle of the board. I was like, he clearly is on Leave Your Mark, but he's not got any models anywhere near it.
It was the case of I can leap, drop 2 marks, especially with the 4-inch push and the leap. That's effectively an 11-inch place, which is a really long way. And then you drop 2 bombs at the end of turn, 2 schemes at the end of turn, you score it.
I mean, by definition, the middle is fairly easy for most crews to get to.
Yeah, fair. But obviously didn't work. So I decided that, you know what, turn 1, the schemes and strats are gone. So with my scheme runner, I actually ran him, just double walked him, which meant turn 2, he could end up dropping his bomb in the enemy's deployment zone.
Mm-hmm.
So even though turn 1, strats and schemes had completely gone, turn 2, I was able to turn the tides on the strat.
Yeah. So there's a few things you can be thinking about in this position. One of them is going to be who has last activation, who has first activation.
Yep.
Can I set up for a potentially powerful play later?
Yep.
Can I try and set up a kill either this turn or next turn?
Yep.
Can I go up on attrition even though I've gone down on scenario?
Yeah.
And then if it's going really wrong, you need to think, how can I withdraw my pieces? I'm not going to commit them. We're just going to play the movement game.
Yep.
I'm going to move my models to try and find zones of influence, which is the first time I've said it this episode. But you think, and actually in terms of things going wrong, perhaps a really good example of this is to say you've got a model, 2 models in a zone of influence, you're going to push breakthrough through, and then one of them gets initiative killed.
Yeah.
And you're like, we've still got 4 unactivated models, but I now know that the thing I could force through, I am no longer forcing through. And it's slightly more advanced play of being able to sequence the actions and see all the consequences of that piece moving out of the chain. But as I say, I would reassess your objectives.
Yep.
And think, I can't score this scheme. Can I set up the next scheme?
Yeah.
Can I, if I can't score the scheme, can I focus on the strat?
Yeah.
So you had 3 models on the scheme, 2 models on the strat. Can you bring the other 2 models off from the scheme now onto the strat and go, okay, we've had a lot of games where we wanted to score the scheme, but we didn't, but we were able to score the strat.
Yeah.
So instead of drawing the strat, we score the strat, but not the...
That's it.
And there's this micromanaging of resources where you need to just not waste them going after a plan in the vague hope.
Yeah.
And something I do is I re-look at my hand, knowing what's in it, in the hope that it's changed.
I think we're all guilty of that.
And to date, it never has happened.
What one?
Yeah, so I think there's an element of just staying calm.
Yep, very much so.
And turn 1 can go horribly, horribly wrong, but there's still 3 more turns to go.
That's the big thing.
So you need to get yourself there. You need to preserve your resources. You need to not focus on things that don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You need to quell those thoughts in your head about how unfair it is.
Absolutely.
Because if you deserve to win, you need to be thinking. You can't win the game on autopilot. You need to focus. And I would also say just focus on the things that will score you points.
Yeah, it's a really good point there, Ben. Too many times people will start losing and then they'll go, oh, I'm just going to kill this model. Because what? Because I feel bad and I want to kill something.
Yeah. So, and it's also worth looking at what the next scheme pool is.
Yeah.
Because then when you're assessing your zones of influence, it might be as simple as we're about to go into breakthrough. He's got a model near my deployment zone. Let me run a piece back.
Yeah.
Or, oh, it's a leave your mark coming up. Let's run people into the middle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, think about what scores you points. And if you can't do anything more, think, what's my opponent likely to take as the next scheme pool? What am I likely to take? Can I bank any actions from this turn going into next?
Yeah.
And there's an awful lot of plays that don't require any flips at all.
There are. Walking, dropping a scheme.
Yeah, and those are actions that win games.
They are.
And certainly if we think about our zones of influence,
That's another drink to anybody listening.
double walking into an unmarked zone of influence to score the scheme unmolested next turn is
Really
a
powerful.
really powerful play.
It's
It
great.
doesn't require any flips. So we will apologise to anybody who's watched either of us have a tantrum.
Yep, 100%.
Listen to what we say, not what we do.
Absolutely.
Um,
Teacher mentality, that one. Do as I say, not as I do.
quite. And I think there's just something about in the community of being able to have positive conversations with people. And so that when you do have that tantrum, you have that little bit more credit because people know you for who you are,
Yeah.
rather than that person that was really salty when they lost.
Hmm.
And then finally, the last thing I'll talk about on the same theme is we're probably not the people to teach this, but how do you win gracefully? So here's an example.
Yeah.
You're flipping really hard.
Yeah.
Every TN6 you hit a 6. Every TN8 you hit an 8.
Oh, so smug.
You were probably going to kill a model, but you red Joker it to have an action left.
Yeah.
Your opponent blacks their really important TN,
Yeah.
and you can see it getting to them.
Yeah.
What do you say?
So this is actually a really interesting point, and I've spoken to a few people about this, a few of the UK players, and it comes down to how well do you know your opponent, I think, and this is possibly something that maybe I haven't done the best in the past as well. If you know your opponent well, you can likely have a joke with them. You can likely, make those comments of, "That's a bit rubbish, isn't it?" Or sometimes you'll apologise and go, "I'm really sorry." However, sometimes if you don't know who they are very well, this is the first time you're playing for them, apologising to people for flipping well can actually really get on their nerves.
You certainly can't overdo it.
No.
I found... it's felt like it worked for me, but I probably just wasn't paying much attention to their feelings.
Yeah, you probably just got on their nerves.
I don't want to say like to. I do like to, because I like to be in this position. It's really good.
It's a lovely position to be in.
I think sometimes you can be a little bit sarcastic, and you can go, clearly I needed the help.
Yeah.
Or just, and I think it is worth acknowledging that, because your opponent's feeling really bad.
Yeah, you can see it on their faces, can't you?
Or even you're thinking, if they're not feeling bad, they should be.
Why don't they care enough?
And they're like, I'm drunk, dude. It's
yeah, game 5 of the tour then.
Yeah, so
6 beers in.
So I think it is worth acknowledging.
And
there's certainly something to be said for, I'm not sitting here thinking you're a terrible player and you clearly deserve to lose because you suck. And I can clearly see what you can see in the, and I think you can say, I know the trick is probably not oversay it.
Yeah.
But you can acknowledge and go, that was a really good turn for me. Or
that was rough.
Yeah,
that's a common one.
Or clearly my deck felt that I needed the help.
Yeah.
I suspect the trick is to just tell them, don't worry, dude, I know that, you don't suck. Your deck's just let you down. I don't think you're a terrible player and that you've never played Malifaux before. And again, I've said this before, I don't think I've had very many games where I've thought you don't know what you're doing.
No.
Even considering how complicated a game it is,
Yeah.
and even the clearly newer players, they still know what all their crews do. They know how the game... I suppose it's quite simple in terms of how to actually play it.
I think the basics of the game are fairly simple. It's that nuanced...
you only really have to think about pick a model, do 2 things.
Yeah.
But I will get on my soapbox here.
Ooh.
There certainly has been the other way, where I've got a little bit annoyed, where somebody's basically making out that they're only losing because of flips. And it helps now that I can be like, I'm an influencer.
How does that help?
Well, you can sort of... the frustration of thinking, I've played a really good game. Maybe not a perfect game,
Yeah.
but certainly not a game where I'm thinking, I've played really badly.
Yeah.
And you've perhaps had a play that you've set up and you've, baited something, or you've, feinted and you've been able to pull something off. And your opponent has then failed a TN6 and they're like having a sulk about it. And you're like, dude, you're not losing because you failed a TN6. You're losing because you've been outplayed.
Yeah.
And that's perhaps a frustration. It doesn't happen very often, but you can certainly have. And to be fair, it doesn't really matter if you win the game. You win the game. Who cares what your opponent thinks or says? But it certainly annoyed me, and I've certainly, on occasion where I felt it's needed, said there's probably more to this game than one TN.
Yeah.
And
I think we touched on that earlier, didn't we? Of that case of, yes, I flipped the black coin, flipped that if I'd have got through, I'd have won the game. But actually, there was 4 other things in turn 1, 2, 3 that if I'd have done differently, that flip wouldn't have mattered because I've already won the game by 3 or 4 points.
Yeah. And your opponent can play a really good game. And we've certainly had, and I touched on some games in the past where go, you know what, my opponent played fantastically. I let my guard down. It was taken to the cleaners. You give people an inch, they take a mile.
Absolutely.
And there's certainly something to be said for being able to distinguish between when that's flips and when that's skill.
I think if you can do that as well, you'll learn more about your own game. You'll learn more about your opponent's game. You'll learn what did they do that was so skillful, and perhaps you can learn from that to improve your own game too. Whereas if you're just blaming everything on flips, what, are you perfect? Nobody is. Ben and I,
we're close.
Well,
we're perfect podcasters.
Yes, of course.
Of all the Malifaux podcasters currently recording
on a regular basis.
On a regular basis.
We are, of course, the most perfect.
Yes.
But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say I've ever played a perfect game in my life. I think there's always been, I've played games that I've won.
I think my Snakes and Ladders game was pretty good.
You did roll very well.
I did.
But again, it comes down to luck, not skill there.
Yeah, certainly. And I think there's certainly something to be said for being able to analyse your own game and go, oh, okay, that's... And we play a lot of new crews.
We do.
So perhaps we're experienced at being able to look at it and go, oh, that's how that's supposed to play.
Yeah.
While if you play the same crew over and over again, it's harder to do that because the temptation is to fall into a bit of autopilot. Yeah,
I think it is a big thing where a lot of people, if they play the same crew and nothing but that crew, then that autopilot, I think, can be a real hindrance.
Massively so. And then when you play a different crew, you're thinking...
This doesn't do what the other crew did.
And you've had a bit of a phenomenon, we could call it, the Tara imposter syndrome.
Yeah, we spoke about that earlier.
Would you like to talk about the Tara imposter syndrome again?
So, as our viewers know, I love Tara. She's my favourite master in the game. I have been very successful with her. I've won 3 tournaments with her, I think it is. And generally done very well with her. Really like her play style. Suits me. And then trying to play other masters, because I had such success in how I played Tara, trying to play those other masters in the same way when they don't have the same tools.
So Lady Justice does a really good impression of Tara.
So one of Tara's amazing things is she can move forward and summon a don't turn you back model in base contact with the enemy. And do you know who else does that? Lady Justice 2. So when I went with Lady Justice 2 and moved forwards and summoned a don't turn your back model in base contact with the enemy, the issue being there is I don't get to activate a second time to run away, and I just got kidnapped and murdered and
outplayed.
I got my head kicked in, rightfully so. We spoke about that game, and I didn't play it great.
And if viewers want to watch it, it's on YouTube.
It is. If they want to watch my humiliation.
And how did you deal with that? Were you grumpy?
No. I think interesting. That game was possibly the one that I was the least grumpy about because I knew I played like utter
tripe.
Tripe, thank you. And I fully and utterly deserved to lose.
Yeah.
So in some ways, that's the least.
I find the
upset I've been.
second loss in an event is always the easiest loss
Yes,
because you just don't care, and you're like,
I wasn't going to win the event anyway.
yeah, whatever.
What an arrogant viewpoint that is of us.
Well, you.
Hey, that was technically my first loss. I've drawn 2 others before that.
You weren't winning the event, were you?
Which, it was the Black Joker's fault I drew it then.
No, James, we both know that if you take an obscure 7-point out keyword model. Yeah, so these are all things to just think about.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people message me and go, I'm really sorry, I was a bit grumpy, a bit salty in that game. And to be fair, very few have I ever left a game thinking, oh, he was a bit... You know, with the exception of the man that broke a glass in your game. It's my all-time favourite.
It is. It's only ever happened once, and it was War Machine Hordes.
But I think I've always finished games and thought, you know what, everyone has some redeeming charm to them.
Yeah.
And everyone, you always have. I think it's helpful to have that little bit of a pitter-patter, have that chat before the game. If you make it as part of a community thing, it's a nicer experience.
Yeah.
We're not... it's a gentleman or gentle ladies game. And I remember playing it, say, a Magic the Gathering tournament many years ago, and the guy spent most of the game trying to get me a game loss. And it was like, you not shuffle the deck, but like you drew your cards for your hand before you untapped your lands or in the wrong order. And it was like called the judge 4 times in the first 20 minutes. And it's just like,
Jesus.
What is wrong with you? Like, what fun are you having from this game? If you don't even want to play the game because you're too busy trying to get your opponent a game loss.
Yeah.
And I think that's the last event I ever played.
I can imagine that.
And when I tell my friends and families that I am a superstar influencer, what's that face, James? Oh, sorry, we're influencers.
Thank you. We're superstar.
So you get the question of, is there money in Malifaux? And you're like, no, there's like 12 people in the UK that play it. But even if there was, I wouldn't want there to be, because the fact that you win and you get a silly trophy, well, it's been 3D printed, or and like the TOs in the UK and the world are phenomenal.
They are amazing.
But the second you bring prize money in, it just makes the game miserable.
Yes.
And I think for me, I have this thing called a job.
Yeah.
Like, I go to work. I don't need to win money. And I certainly wouldn't want the change in the game that would cause.
It would be awful. Absolutely awful.
So I think, having that chat with people, enjoying their company, enjoying the social side of it.
Yep.
And perhaps the most odd thing about being slightly more successful than I was is when someone beats you and then asks for your advice. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to you.
That is a funny one.
And I suppose it gives us credit that even when James and I lose because we suck, people still think we're brilliant. And they're still like, oh, what's your opinion of this? And you're like, why are you asking my opinion?
You just kick my backside.
I'm the man that took a 7-wide list on Boundary. What's the...
In defense, it was 8-wide.
It was 8-wide. And I think they're all significant. That's... but yeah, so... And I think there's something about how you think you came across as that story of you might fall over, and to you it's the most embarrassing thing, and yet in the street nobody saw.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
The ones that did see don't care.
They're too busy.
They've got their own lives.
Worrying about whether somebody saw them scratching their bum or whatever it is.
Yep.
So... how you think you came across probably wasn't as bad as it was in your head.
Yeah.
Unless you're James, which point it was worse.
Apparently so, sometimes, yeah.
But, like, we all play very competitively, very focused. And we talked about before, especially those of us that take it really seriously, we put a lot of thought into it. We put a lot of time recording high-quality podcasts.
And this podcast.
And this is the last time you'll hear us moan about the Black Joker. Yep. So remember, whenever we are talking about how great our opponent played, and how phenomenally they played and how we deserved to lose. What we actually mean.
I flipped the black joke at the most inopportune time. It's only that is the reason I lost.
Exactly. So with that, we hope you found this episode useful.
Yeah.
And we will see you next week.
Have a good one.